The nation's top universities are experiencing a serious diversity problem. According to a recent New York Times analysis, in 2015, Black students made up only 6% of freshmen at elite universities, despite the fact that they make up 15% of college age Americans. Hispanic freshmen make up a similar statistic, only representing 13% of elite universities, although they make up 22% of the college age population. Even though minorities make up a large percentage of potential college students, few of them actually make it to campuses. To counteract figures like these, the courts ruled that race can be a factor in the university admissions process to encourage diversity in 1961. But if universities are doing this, then why is the number of minority students not growing? These universities want greater diversity among their campuses. However, despite their efforts, they continue to suffer from a lack of diversity. And our question is the same as theirs: why?
Through careful research and analysis, we have come to the conclusion that this lack of diversity is the result of three main issues. The first is lack of funding for rising tuition rates. The cost of higher education is often a significant barrier for minority students, as coming up with the money to attend prestigious universities can be difficult. Indiana University, for example, charges in-state tuition $10,534 in just fees and tuition, and they more than triple the cost for out-of-state students, charging them $34,846. These high tuition rates are often very difficult for minority students to afford. However, Indiana University does offer some scholarships aimed at helping bring minority students to campus, such as the Hudson and Holland Scholarship Program. This scholarship is geared towards minority students and offers both financial aid and incredible support for an underrepresented population of students, thus easing the financial burden and making college more accessible. In looking at Indiana University's minority enrollment over the years, the benefits of such programs are obvious. In 2005, Indiana University boosted a minority population of 10.4%, which quickly grew to 19.8% in 2017, all while the Hudson and Holland Scholarship Program continued to increase its number of scholarship recipients. This shows that by providing students with opportunities to ease the financial burden of college, more minority students will be able to get an education and universities will see an increase in minority enrollment. The second issue we found hindering minority enrollment at universities is the importance placed on standardized test scores. As a society, we have built educational institutions around the idea of test scores. Funding for public primary and secondary schools is primarily based on the test scores that it can produce, keeping underfunded schools underperforming and making improvement difficult. In the pursuit of higher freshman class test score averages, schools like Indiana University have made standardized tests a necessary part of college admissions processes and continue to raise expectations for these test scores. Doing this excludes more and more underprivileged, often minority students that could not meet their high standards. In contrast, schools such as Wake Forest University in North Carolina, which has embraced making admissions exams optional for applicants, are experiencing a rapid rise in minority enrollment. After making this change, Wake Forest University's minority population jumped from 18% in 2009 to 23% in 2010, and then 30% by 2015, making it clear that admissions exams hinder minority enrollment and that the nation's top universities would see a sharp rise in diversity where they do away with them. The third issue we found to hinder minority enrollment in top universities is that these students often have a hard time feeling safe on these universities' campuses. Feeling safe and at home on an unfamiliar college campus is still a priority among minority applicants. This consideration is relevant to even Indiana University, which has long-standing difficulty in creating a safe, accepting environment for all students that can be seen through consideration incidents throughout the university's history. In one such incident, in 1960, an African-American man named Thomas Atkins was elected to be the university's student body president. Though his becoming the first African-American to be the student body president of any Big Ten school may seem like a huge step towards greater acceptance, this received a lot of backlash. Some Indiana University students voiced their opposition to Atkins' election through public displays such as burning crosses and singing segregation songs, making it very clear at least some Indiana University student body was in opposition to the mission of diversity and inclusion. Clearly, the university was not the safest place for minority students in the 1960s. Although that may seem like a long time ago, opposition to diversity has not completely left this campus. In 2015, a Muslim woman, the mother of two current Indiana University students, was attacked by now former IU student Trison Bickford outside of her family's cafe in downtown Bloomington. Bickford attacked her in front of her 9-year-old daughter, trying to forcibly remove her headscarf and shouting racial slurs. Though he was criminally charged and expelled from the university, this incident reminded Indiana University students that hatred and bigotry still plague this campus. Bloomington did not seem like the quiet, safe college town it had always been. Although these incidents were certainly not condoned by the university, the fact that they took place is something that prospective students consider in their college decision.
To counteract students' concerns about feeling safe and at home on campus, Indiana University works hard to provide lots of organizations aimed at helping students in their transition. The university boasts its hundreds of campus organizations and makes the statistic well known to prospective students. All of these organizations help students to get involved with campus activities and find places where they can thrive. However, although the university has a variety of support systems for minority students, including cultural centers and safe spaces, they often fail to advertise them as well as they should. On such a big campus, students often do not know where to go to get the help that they need. Minority students might feel unsafe in an unfamiliar environment with a recent history of acts of bigotry and may not know where to go, ruining their college experience or driving them away entirely. Clearly, this is a significant problem. In light of these issues, we have come up with a few suggestions for Indiana University to improve its minority enrollment. Our first suggestion is for Indiana University to continue to offset high college costs with scholarship programs, especially programs aimed at minority students. These programs offer minority students who would not otherwise be able to attend a university a chance, and that chance is incredibly important. If universities such as Indiana University offered more scholarship opportunities for minority students and made them even more accessible, we believe that they would see a sharp rise in minority enrollment and improvements in overall campus diversity. Our second suggestion is to lessen the importance placed on standardized test scores. These standardized admissions exams are nothing but flawed, irrelevant measurements that work against minority students. These test scores not only make it difficult for minority students to make it to campus, but they also make it difficult for them to win scholarships that would make a university education accessible. Indiana University's Hudson and Holland Scholarship Program, which is the biggest minority scholarship at the university, requires staggeringly high test scores and grades from its awardees, asking for a 3.2 GPA, an SAT score of 1150 or an ACT score of 24, and an extensive record of extracurricular involvement throughout high school. Though the scholarship can be incredibly impactful for minority students, making it hard for students to qualify leaves more underprivileged students with few, if any, other options. We believe that providing more scholarship opportunities for minority students and keeping them accessible would encourage minority enrollment in the nation's top universities, thereby furthering that mission of diversity and inclusion.
Our final suggestion is to further advertise organizations for minority students to make sure that they know what resources are available to them. Given Indiana University's both recent and long-standing history of being a somewhat unsafe environment for minority students, we believe that making support organizations for minorities well known to these students would be beneficial to them. Because minority students are placed at a significant disadvantage, resources made specifically for them need to be advertised as much as possible so that they know where they can go when times are hard. By placing special attention on making sure that minority students feel safe and at home on campus and know what resources are available to them, minority students would be more inclined to consider Indiana University's campus to be a safe environment. Indiana University would see an increase in minority enrollment. Although the nation's top universities are experiencing difficulties in increasing diversity among their campuses, we believe that these suggestions would make a real difference. All universities wish to further that goal of diversity and inclusion, recognizing the more powerful impact that it can have on their students. Affirmative action, though beneficial in some ways, simply does not do enough to support that mission. It needs more to be done to encourage diversity among these students on college campuses. Diversity simply enriches the human experience, and it is for this reason that we believe that our suggestion would be impactful in furthering that historic mission of diversity and inclusion that Indiana University has always worked towards.